Good morning, Order. It's me, Corey, and I'm here with Tarek. How you doing, Tarek?
Pretty good. I'm pretty good. Welcome to the Order. We're going to talk about some RPG topics today. We're going to talk about what is your favorite franchise, favorite genre, favorite license that never got an RPG.
Yeah, what got snubbed? And this is harder than we thought because we were looking up a whole bunch of RPGs. We were like, this should be an RPG. And we type it in, we look it up, and boom, it's an RPG already, or it's going to be.
So and who knows how great those games are, but some of them have been around for a lot longer than you and I have expected, but impressive.
So here are some of the rules. First off, the RPG has to have an official game, right? It can't be like, oh, I have that RPG. I got it from this guy who made a complete version of it. It's really good. I don't care. He didn't go buy the license for that. This has to be an officially licensed RPG. But there's some wiggle room there, as in if it's an older one that hasn't gotten a good refresh or update or is kind of terrible, we're going to consider those like it needs to come back in a better way.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Masters of the Universe RPG.
It was really difficult to try to come up with two solid franchises that I held on to that weren't already represented in some way in RPGs. The first one that I thought of was Dune, and that's because there's been a lot of unofficial releases of Dune games in the past, but none of them have gotten really the official seal of approval, and that was really frustrating me for a long time because I really loved the world, I really loved the lore of Dune. There's so much there, and then we typed it in and we found out that Dune, along with the new movie that's coming out, is also getting a new RPG, which is kind of impressive. I'm really excited about that. I got to look more into the history and of the developer and kind of what to expect from this new game series, but hopefully it's really good. It get us a good deep dive into the lore of Dune, and hopefully we get a lot more fans from that.
And the collector's edition books are freaking beautiful looking.
They look amazing. They have all of the iconography of the different houses, like House Atreides, House Harkonnen. I love Dune. I really hope that series takes off and that a lot of people become fans of it. Hopefully they keep making supplements. We'll see how it goes. In addition, just a shout out of a couple different ones that I feel need some good representation. Battlestar Galactica has so much lore behind it, so many fans behind it, and all that really came out was a officially licensed version of the made-for-TV show, or the TV show. So it's highly representative of the TV show in a sense, but it's not really representative of the larger lore surrounding the entire world and the world building for the series. So I hope that someday somebody picks up that franchise or that license and really runs with it, expands on all the different planets, what was life like before the Cylon Wars, maybe leading up to the Cylon Wars, maybe in Cylon Wars, what have you. You can go crazy with that setting in that franchise.
My first pick is Avatar: The Last Airbender. There have been a lot of people trying to fit this franchise into Dungeons and Dragons for some reason. It needs its own rule system that has the flavor of that world and brings it to life. And it seems that a studio has picked up the license and they say a book will be out in 2022. I will believe it when I see it. When they start taking pre-orders, that's when I will say that it's an official game. But as of right now, it needs it, and I'm glad somebody's on it. Let's make it happen, people.
Yes.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Those developers. Yeah.
What'd you say?
That everybody encourage those developers, whoever the Magpie Games, I think is who picked it up. Go tell them how much you love this franchise and hope that they give it some good justice. I think every single person who's ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender has had that wish fulfillment of I really want to be a specific. I identify as a waterbender. I really like earthbending. Well, yeah, I think everybody has that. What's your favorite bending?
What's my favorite bending?
If you could be any kind of bender in an Avatar Last Airbender RPG game, what would your first go-to pick?
I don't want any of the elemental bendings. I want the chi bending that gives and takes the power. I want to be the dragon turtle. That's what I want to be.
Damn. Okay. Wasn't he evil? The dude who did that in Korra?
No, he was not taking people's bending away through chi. He was using blood bending in order to cut off the chi gates so they could no longer access their bending.
So that's what I would want
to. You want to be a bloodbender. They're evil. Yeah. Bloodbending is evil.
I mean, it'll be fun, though.
Katara was a bloodbender. She bloodbended Zuko's sister that one time. Just once. Just once.
Just the once.
She's not...
She needed to.
Not totally evil, just a little evil.
And she kind of got duped by that one bloodbender lady, right?
Yeah, she got duped.
So for my next choice, it was difficult to wrap my mind around a single topic. I really initially wanted to go towards like a genre, let's say a detective genre. There's not a lot of exploration in the field of detective gaming, detective RPG gaming. I thought maybe Sherlock Holmes, but apparently there is a Baker Street game that's been made about the setting of Sherlock Holmes.
You can't really make that an official thing or unofficial. But copyright is gone from that. You can't license. Exactly. There's no license.
Taking from that a detective eye view, allowing the characters to play a team of investigators who go around trying to solve murders or solve like serial killings, maybe even using something like Silence of the Lambs or Hannibal Lecter as a franchise to build around, and using maybe people inside of a institution of some variety or some kind of prison system where you're trying to get information to help you solve cases. You know what I mean?
So
find out who's actually there on the loose.
A Hannibal Lecter, like Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, the RPG, where you're a detective trying to find the serial killer in this one case.
A team of detectives, right?
Sure, why not?
You're detectives, you're forensic analysis, you're whatever you want to be. And as far as trying to bring these killers to bay, are you the blood splatter analysis? Are you the forensic pathologist, the person who's going to go in and like actually do the autopsies and medical examiner to try to get cause of death and all that stuff going? You do a lot of stuff in that space, and I think it's a very compelling style of RPG to incorporate. I don't know exactly how it would work out, but I'm excited to see. I challenge somebody to come up with a good rule set that would make this experience a lot more engaging. That doesn't have to revolve around like combat constantly and hack and slash gameplay. You can do a lot more.
So years ago, there were a lot of different shows I was in that didn't have RPGs, and I built RPGs out of these things. And one of the ones that I built an RPG out of that still doesn't have an RPG to this day is Transformers.
My God, yeah, of course.
I don't know why it doesn't have an RPG. Transformers has a ton of lore with a slew of characters. There are good guys and bad guys. It screams for an RPG. And if you buy a Transformer and look at the back of the box, there are stats right there. And when I made my RPG, I just took the stats off the back of the box, created an RPG around it, and it worked. And Howard played in my Beast Wars Transformers game. He transformed into a loon, and every time he transformed, he said, "Looney Bird!" Woo!
We're gonna need to get Howard to reprise his role.
Yes, definitely. We're gonna get him to say soon. "Looney Bird" on one of the order videos. This is a promise to you guys. Transformers is great because you have different ways of moving around. You have a robot mode that's made for combat, and then you have a vehicle mode so you can get places faster, or you have different ways of solving problems that aren't, you don't really have equipment as a Transformer. You have the modes that you can rely on to do the things in the RPG. For a little sneak peek at what I did with my role playing game is each stat, like strength and firepower and intelligence and that kind of stuff, for each point you put into that, you could buy a power that links, to that skill. So basically, that's the amount of points you have to buy powers of that type. And that's why in the Transformers cartoon, people just kind of have random powers sometimes. Like Optimus has an energy axe, but then never uses it. Because he's putting his powers back and forth, putting points back and forth through his powers.
Yeah, how he wants to allocate.
Yeah, how he wants to allocate it for this episode. Exactly.
That makes sense. That actually is an interesting system that gives you a little bit of dynamicy.
So that's it. That's our picks for what licensed properties need to become RPGs. What RPG are you missing out on? What do you think needs to be an officially licensed RPG that's not there? What RPGs have you just created because it doesn't exist? I want to hear from you. Give me a comment. Tarek, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Corey. And before I go, I'm going to throw one more out there. For those who are in the know, Nobunaga's Ambition, the video game, why isn't that a RPG game that you could play as leaders of the Sengoku Jidai era and like build your war game and your RPG? Anyway, just the last thought.
All right, guys, we'll see you later. And remember,
never don't stop gaining experience.